tasted that. Num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest, you ain't never got a heat.
What's been going on at Marvel? Let's be real. Things have been going downhill. I don't even know where to start, so I'm gonna break this down into 5 sections. 4. I don't know how many sections. We're gonna find out as we go along, okay? We don't know, we don't go in with a plan on this thing, okay? Listen, I'm mad. I'm mad because I used to be the biggest Marvel fan ever, dude. I watched all of the fucking YouTube videos. I watched all those analysis videos, new rock stars. I was on it. I knew every release that was coming out. I knew all the post-credit scenes. I knew all the Easter eggs to the comics. I knew everything, okay? You know those videos you would see as a kid where it would play like Ring of Fire or some random Linkin Park song and it would say like upcoming Marvel movies and it would show a movie that never came out. Yeah, I watched those. I lived on those. I ate, breathed, and slept those videos, okay? That was my shit. So it's sad to see the current state of Marvel. Well, what's the current state of Marvel, right? What's the current, so what's the problem? What's going on here? The first biggest issue, which is the one that most people talk about, is the Marvel quips, the comedy, right? The comedy. What's so bad about comedy? You know, I'm not Mr. Anti-fun over here, okay? Comedy is fun. But the issue comes when they're the most generic, predictable comments that every single character makes. You got characters like Doctor Strange, who should be a more sophisticated character, cracking little jokes with Spider-Man. I never really read the comics, but I know for damn sure that's a diverging path from the comics. It's not how it was, okay? Doctor Strange was not wisecracking with Spidey, okay? You leave the jokes for characters like Spider-Man. When Vision is making jokes, you know there's an issue, okay? He does do it in his own little like deadpan way, so it's not as bad. Now, this isn't to say more serious characters can't make a couple jokes here and there, but it's an overall pretty big issue that we've seen in the past couple of projects. Of the Marvel movies and shows that have come out recently, this was the biggest issue in Thor: Love and Thunder. After the success of Ragnarok, they were like, oh yeah, let's go in all in on the comedy in Thor: Love and Thunder, and it did not go well at all. The amount of times I wanted to rip my head off from a goat screaming, it's unthinkable. It's ridiculous. They kept using the same joke over and over. You ever heard of the rule of thirds? Let's look that up on Google for you, Taika. You don't need to do the goats that many times. And the comedy becomes an issue when you introduce a character like Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher, it says in his name, he butchers gods. And he butchers a grand total of 1 god. You cannot make this up. It's ridiculous. 1, when we don't see any real threat from a character, they aren't threatening. The worst sin he commits is kidnapping children, which like sounds bad, but it just puts them in a little box and they get to just FaceTime Thor and nothing's wrong. There's nothing going wrong. Instead of just trying to butcher the gods, he kidnaps a bunch of kids to like lure them out or something. And then when you finally have a scene where he could potentially be intimidating, all our heroes are trapped and captured and binded. All they do is joke about his like teeth or his bad breath or something.
You don't call the axe when you call the dentist.
That's just not how it works. You can't have tonal whiplash like that. You can't go from having a serious story to completely degrading the villain. You commit to one or the other. And like I said, I like when comedy is balanced well. Guardians of the Galaxy, that's one of my favorite movies, both of them. And I'm excited for the third one, even though that one looks like it's gonna be emotional as fuck. Besides that, we've known for years the quips have been a problem, but it's getting worse. In a movie like Multiverse of Madness, which was touted to be a horror entry to the MCU, we don't need jokes. Okay, I say jokes, but some jokes are fine. Even the darkest and most serious movies have jokes. Horror movies have jokes. The Batman, which is probably one of the grittier and darker superhero movies that's come out in recent years, had jokes in it.
Holy God, what are you showing me? Come on!
I don't hate jokes. Like I said, I'm not anti-fun. I'm not Hitler over here. But with the kills as relatively gory as they are for Marvel standards, it makes you wonder what the demographic is for Marvel now. Because you have all these predictable kiddie Disney Channel type jokes, but then you have people's brains getting blown out and through the side of their head, which I did like about that movie. I liked how dark it got, but then it wants to bounce back and forth between jokes. People get like melted and disintegrated and their heads cut off or cut in half, and then Doctor Strange just wants to act like nothing's going on. They just want to act like it's not, you know, the end of the world at stake. And as great as Infinity War is, it's even a little unbearable there. Like, why is Tony Stark making snarky comments like, dude, the world's literally gonna end?
It means get lost, Squidward.
All I'm saying is they really just have been pushing it lately. And the biggest thing that people normally note is how cookie cutter these jokes are and how they apply to every single character. And they don't differ between character personality types. Everybody makes the same goddamn jokes. You have Captain America making the same jokes as Spider-Man. It makes no sense. So that's my biggest thing. It's the misuse of the comedy. The second thing for me is a thing that I've had an issue with since the beginning of Marvel. It's the action. Again, I'm reiterating stuff everybody has said. We all know the action is horribly directed and shot in every single movie. It's shaky cam. It's oftentimes pretty poorly choreographed. And for movies with amazing superpowers and stuff, we should be seeing way better action. So when you don't even have good action in a superhero movie, how is that going to make up for the poor comedy? And number three, the poor writing. These movies follow a strict formula. They're always the same thing. If it's an origin story, its character is introduced to power in weird way and have friend buddies that go along with them, and then villain come in and they have to go stop them from their evil plan, which now that I'm saying it sounds like the plot to every movie, but they do it in their own like Marvel way. It's tough to describe, but when you've watched these movies for as long as I have, you really see it. And as I've gotten older, it's just worked less on me. And I don't want to say I'm too mature for these movies, because these movies are really made for people of all ages, but it's definitely something to consider. Going back to what I said about the demographic of these movies, I feel like as I've gotten older, they just don't hit for me as much. I'm sorry, guys. And that's why, unfortunately, I think I'm going to be skipping out on Quantumania this year. I mean, the trailer did not interest me at all. We have this bit of Scott making it seem like he might side with Kang because Kang could help him in some way, but it's a Marvel movie. There's no moral ambiguity in movies like this. We know Scott's not gonna side with Kang. We know in the end the quote-unquote good guys are gonna beat the quote-unquote bad guys, and that's another thing that's really lacking. Villains. We don't have any deep villains. The closest we've got in recent years was Namor and Black Panther, which was exceptional. I really liked Black Panther. I really liked Namor in that, and his backstory was well developed and his motivations were clear cut, and I wish we got that with every fucking movie. Look at Black Widow. The main villain is literally, well, I guess you can't say she's the main villain, but the main villain, quote unquote, Taskmaster, is literally some robot foot soldier with zero motivation, literally zero motivation. And the main guy, whose name I can't even remember, which exemplifies another problem, he has some hidden backstory with Black Widow that we don't really know, and it's not super clear, so it makes it kind of hard to jump into that story. And that movie also struggles with some comedic elements from David Harbour and the, oh, I can't fit in the suit, I'm fat now. Black Widow is unwatchable, especially unrewatchable. I mean, I already could barely watch it. Not to mention, in that movie, which everybody shows this one clip, I'll put it on the screen right now, we gotta talk about it, the CGI. The CGI has taken a nosedive, and it's no surprise. In the last 3 years, there have been 5 Marvel projects per year. That is insane when you consider that most shows are about 6 to 10 hours of show and each movie is 2 to 3 hours long. That's like 60 hours of Marvel content that's getting pumped out a year, and these poor VFX artists don't know what the fuck to do. They have to rush everything out. There's no time to pace things out, but they don't care. They're gonna pump out as much as they can. You know why? Moolah, money, dinero. It works. The formula works no matter what we say. No matter how many times people criticize the CGI, they're just gonna pump them out and work these VFX artists to death. I gotta drink some water here because I'm getting dry mouth because I'm getting so angry. What was I talking about? It's just frustrating, and you could really see in the trailer for Quantumania. You guys have all seen MODOK. You've all seen the comparisons to Mr. Electric. I don't have to remind you, but I'm still reminding you. I don't think I can bring myself to see this movie, but now that I mention it, if I do ever want to go back to an MCU project, I'm gonna have to watch it because Kang's gonna be the new big bad guy, and that's how they get you. You now have to watch every single project to know what the fuck is going on. You have to see all the shows. You have to see all the movies. I stopped watching Miss Marvel, didn't get to watch She-Hulk, and no, I am not a misogynist. I will explain to you why I didn't watch those. I started watching Miss Marvel and it started out pretty unique and I like the style, but then it falls into Marvel generic bullshit when damage control comes in and there's all this exposition about this ancient religion. Oh my god, I'm falling asleep. So since I couldn't finish that, the Marvel burnout seriously got to me and I didn't even bother watching She-Hulk. Some of the clips I saw were funny, but it's not worth watching the whole show. You have to draw me in, okay? You have to please me. You have to make me want to watch your show. You have to bring me from episode to episode. And when your plot is generic and you have a stupid villain and the CGI is bad, it's not even fun to watch. Like, you can't even put aside the bad story because it's cool CGI and cool fighting. You can't even put it aside because it's all bad. I can't say it's bad. It's all just average. It's becoming boring. WandaVision was good. It started out unique. That's how they kind of all go. They kind of all start out interesting and, you know, thinking something cool, and then it just ends in a big CGI fight or some boring bullshit. It's becoming quantity over quality at this point. They have a system. They release a bunch of stuff a year and everybody gets hyped, and it kind of paces out throughout the whole year. You'll have something in February and then May and then July and then November, December. You kind of get throughout the whole year, so you're kind of always getting Marvel content. Marvel just never leaves the average fan's brain. I think that's why a lot of people are kind of starting to feel the burnout. You see it with recent Rotten Tomato scores. I think Quantumania now has the lowest, lower than Eternals, which I didn't even expect. I mean, I knew the movie was going to be bad, but I thought it was going to hit like a 60 or something. We really started to see a big decline in Rotten Tomato scores on average. You know, Rotten Tomato scores don't tell the whole story, but early on we were getting consistent 80s, 85s, 90s, and as high as 95s on the earlier Marvel movies. Now we're getting more 60s to 70s to low 80s, which they're not bad, but it's steadily going down. Eternals was a huge disappointment, and I'm genuinely surprised that Quantumania got a lower score than it. I mean, it's not surprising when you're looking at this fucking thing. I did hear Kang was cool, which I believe. He was cool in Loki. I did like Loki for the most part, except it made me feel kind of stupid. I didn't really know what was going on towards the end, but that's besides the point. I swear I'm not mad at Marvel because I didn't understand Loki, okay? I'm not, okay? I don't think I'm crazy in saying all this because I think a lot of people are really starting to experience this Marvel burnout along with me. You know, I still am holding out hope. Like I said before, Wakanda Forever was really good. I liked a couple of the Marvel shows. I say a couple, but now that I think about it, I think I really only like Loki. I started to like Moon Knight, but I didn't really like how they balanced the multiple personalities. By the end, it also became a pretty generic CGI fight like all of the shows do. So that's again a wasted cool concept. It's the same with WandaVision. It's the same with all the other shows. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I got excited for when it was first announced, and it was the most boring show I've ever seen. There is some pretty interesting commentary about the blip and how it affected people's lives, but it doesn't fully commit to that. I almost wish it was more a show about the lives of these characters in the world instead of some generic like spy story, and it really started to fall apart. And don't even get me started on Hawkeye. Why did they bring Kingpin back for one episode to just get killed at the end? Tony Dalton was cool though. I watched that show before I watched Better Call Saul, and now I really want to go back and rewatch it, knowing that that's just basically Lalo Salamanca, but a good guy.
Bald fella, about so tall.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning and I really want to go to sleep, and I've been rambling for over 20 minutes now, so let me know what you guys think about this. I feel like a lot of people are going to share the same sentiment with me. You guys let me know, and let me know if you enjoyed this video because this is my first video on this channel and I'm going to keep this thing going, so subscribe, stick around, it's going to be awesome, man, okay? I'll catch you guys in the next one. I don't know how to end these things yet, so bye.